In this video, we will explore the development of transportation in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Transportation played a significant role in the growth of the American economy, providing for the rich and diverse resources of the economy to be brought together to create products and reach distant markets. We will briefly cover 6 topics which will show the progression of transportation modes demanded by the expanding American economic markets. Transportation, as is the case for all goods and services in a market economy, changes to meet the needs of the customers. During the 19th century, the American economy experienced tremendous growth, where the demand for goods and services created new markets and interstate trade. Each region of the country had unique geography, climate, natural resources. Entrepreneurs organizing these unique factors of production from distant communities helped to meet the growing demand of a growing and migrating population. The 19th century economist understood that market size was extremely important for the development of larger-scale manufacturing and efficiencies. One of the largest factors limiting market growth was the cost of transporting goods distances from the point of production. Because transporting goods was a major cost for producers, manufacturing and agricultural production were initially established near waterways. There is no doubt that competition in transportation and the associated improvements encouraged Western expansion. People migrating west required household goods, farming and woodworking tools. Families required educational materials and clothing. Successful settlers produced more than their needs and wanted to sell the products of their labor. The transportation of materials used in manufacturing permitted larger scale production. In New England, for example, textile production was established along the northern waterways and shipping ports. The raw materials used in textile production, such as wool and cotton, are better suited to be produced in the South and Midwest farming areas of the country. During the antebellum period, 3 natural gateways linked the western territories with the rest of the nation and international ports. In the Northeast, the Great Lakes connected to New York. The Northern Gateway ran along the St. Lawrence River, the Hudson, and the Mohawk River valleys. The largest investment included the Erie Canal, which opened in 1825. By 1852, the Northern Gateway included the New York Central and the New York and Erie Railroads. The second gateway was the Northeastern Gateway, and comprised a network of canals and rail systems that connected these modes of transportation from Pittsburgh to the Ohio River, and from Philadelphia and Wheeling to Baltimore. Canals along these routes rivaled the other modes of transportation in the 1830s and surged again in the 1850s as connecting rail links. The Pennsylvania Turnpike was completed in 1818 as an innovative concept for private development as a toll road. The Southern Gateway at New Orleans was the main southern transportation hub. The Mississippi, the Missouri, and Ohio rivers and their connecting tributaries provided the opportunity for larger-scale collection of goods from several sources and the introduction of steamboats in 1811. The rafts and flatboats provided downriver travel at reasonable cost, but the return was tedious and time-consuming, towing the craft by foot or by horse. A 1,000-mile trip would take about a month to go downriver and more than 3 months to return. In 1808, Robert Fulton and Robert Livingston built Clermont, the first steamboat to make the voyage up the Hudson River from New York to Albany. Because of the increased capacity of the steamboats and the sheer number of boats, competition amongst all modes of transportation is a predominant characteristic of moving goods and services to existing and emerging markets. There were those in Congress in the 19th century that argued that the Constitution did not permit the federal government the authority to build or fund transportation improvements. In 1824, however, the Supreme Court issued the Gibbons v. Ogden decision, which established national supremacy in the regulation of interstate trade. The land grants of 1850 helped connect the East and the West and allowed farmers to take part in the national economy by selling their agricultural produce in larger markets. The Pacific Railway Act of 1862 authorized land grants and cash premiums up to $48,000 per mile of track for the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroad companies. Even with the railroad building boom, the nation struggled towards an integrated rail system. Each railroad company established a different standard of track gauge, preventing interconnections and the efficient movement of cargo. In Utah, we are familiar with the wagon trains and the western migration from the Midwest, including the Lewis and Clark, the Ogden, and the Mormon Trails. These overland roads most often followed Native American hunting paths, which followed stream valleys and the easiest lines of travel. One of the most important was the Wilderness Road pioneered by Daniel Boone through the Cumberland Gap, today Middlesboro, Kentucky. Those migrating to the west called for the government to build a national road, but those residing in the east argued against the constitutionality of funds for such project. The federal government, despite the controversy, began building a road structure at Cumberland, Maryland in 1811. The road was opened to wheeled vehicles in 1818, running from Maryland to the Ohio River. 1 year later, the road was completed at St. Louis. There were those in the South who were also strongly opposed to the use of federal funds to build roads in the West and the potential to facilitate easier access to non-slave areas of the West. Congress, however, could not avoid appropriating funds to build roads to serve military posts that provided protection to the Western settlements. With the development and growth of transportation alternatives, the cost of manufacturing and distribution of goods dropped dramatically, further fueling the increasing supply of goods and economic growth.